Hey guys, so this is our global update over the past few days. Also, a lot of you guys have been asking for an update on what's happening on in the world economy and what's happening also towards the U.S. economy and how does it impact the stocks or the stock market in the U.S. markets as well. Because I believe that there's a lot of you guys also who are watching this channel who are not just trading Philippine stocks. Some of you are trading U.S. markets as well. So for those who are wanting to know more about what's happening in the Philippine markets, I interviewed Dr. Alvin Ang, one of the best economists here in the Philippines. You can just watch this video. He talks about what's happening in the Philippines and how the lockdown, the extension of the lockdown, the coronavirus is also impacting how we do business and how the economy will also move. So if you want to know more about the Philippines, just click on that. You can just go to the video section and then just watch that as well. Anyways, this video will just primarily focus on the global economy and the impact into all of this. And it may sound a bit grim, no, but you can please stay up until the end. So in the end, I'm gonna give you some actionable items, some battle plans on how you can navigate through this times of uncertainty, through times where people don't know what to do as well. So you can stay up until the end, and we're gonna talk more about that later on as well. So everything at least is not doom and gloom, that you get at least a perspective on how you can navigate these times. Please also remember that in times of crisis, in times when everyone's scared, that's still opportunity. That's why I keep making videos like this. So at least somehow, some way that you can get a perspective on opportunities that may come your way because of what's happening. I said it's going to be a bit grim because even the World Trade Organization said that there's a trade collapse that will happen, and they're actually saying that it could be one of the worst in this generation. One of the things, siguro, that I could point out in all of this is that China was the first hit in all of this, and a lot of the manufacturing is happening there. A lot of the trade is coming from China. A lot of the trade is happening also in the US. They have a lot of trading partners as well. And as you all know, also from last year, we had we had the trade war, which already impacted exports for both countries as well. So this is taking it a step further. And as you all know, the biggest the biggest thing that caused this was the coronavirus. Just an update, guys, that we have already 1.6 million people infected, and it's been growing to a concern because one of the biggest hit is that right now is the U.S. There's already around 468,000 people infected, with the cases still growing, and I think it has to come to a point where the U.S. will also need to fully lock down, and a lot of the countries that have tried to curb the growth of this, have locked down, and people are just scared that if the US would fully lock down, then it would really, really massively hit the economy as well. So people are not. So the decision point in the US will be how much of a lockdown would they want that doesn't hit the economy as much, versus if they lock down, then they stand the chance of hitting the economy more and more and more and more and more. That being said, also the epicenter of where this started, Wuhan City, just started to open already to the rest of the world. So to a lot of the Filipino viewers who asked me, how long would the lockdown be if you would look at Wuhan as a template? Wuhan, uh, it took them around 2 months from the time they fully locked down to where they are right now. But China, of course, as of this point in time, still has more infections than the Philippines. China has around 8,000 plus. The Philippines, as of now, has around 4,000. When the Philippines started to lock down, I think it was just around 25 people who got infected. But as you all know, without having strict quarantine measures, it will be really, really hard to contain it. But one of the things that I would like to point out, which I think is one of the biggest concerns here, is also everything started because of the wet market. Everything started because people started selling and eating stuff like bats that are not supposed to be eaten. That was the epicenter of it all. So that's very, very controversial. But the reason why I'm pointing to China also is basically this: the GDP, the Chinese GDP, the median estimate is around -10. It means the Chinese economy is slowing down. And please remember, 2008, one of the reasons why we got out of it very very fast as well was that US and Europe were in trouble, but China was massively moving fast. India was also massively moving fast. And I don't know if you know this, India is also locking down. So the best case scenario for the Chinese economy is, I think, a contraction of around -6%, meaning their economy is also slowing down. So let's see how it goes. They're gonna announce this next week. So this is something worth watching. Please remember, China is the second biggest economy in the world. What happens to China impacts us all as well. So there. So moving naman to the US, you have Elon Musk. He posted a very very controversial tweet, him sending his condolences to the US economy because of all of the stimulus package that the US is doing. He actually tweeted that there was a meteorite hitting Earth, something like that, and say and there I don't think he's a big fan of what the US government is doing in terms of the stimulus packages that they're doing. So just so you know also, the current stimulus package is 200 trillion US dollars, and then they also opened it up with infinity, meaning they're just gonna keep on printing new money every single time. They're gonna use that money to pay off bonds, pay off debt, to pay off paper assets, so that banks have cash, so that money is trickling down in the economy, so that more people have a chance to spend, so that everyone feels that the economy is getting better. But again, this all boils down to what side of the spectrum are you on. Some people are thinking that this is something that's bad for the economy. Some people are saying that this gives the economy some leeway for them to actually push forward until the economy gets better, until they can actually catch up. Just for context, also, the US Fed in the 2008 crisis printed around 4.5 trillion US dollars, and what's projected right now to protect the entire economy is them printing around 6 trillion to 8 trillion US dollars for 2020. That's a massive print that the US government is doing just to keep the economy afloat as well. And as you all know, the stock market is forward looking. As you all know, every time you print money and you buy paper assets, more buyers bring the prices up. And that's what happened after seeing that. You see the Dow just continue to bounce right after you see it, after the large, strong, massive decline. It now has started to push up as well. If you look at, this is how chart nexus would show it. You would see that from a technical analysis standpoint, you see MACD already showing us a change in direction. You see it breaking past a 20-day moving average. For those who like following moving averages, the next moving average that it needs to at least attack is the 50-day moving average, then followed by the 100 and 200-day moving average, which is also in the same front. And this is why I'm saying that the US markets are different from the Philippine markets. The Dow is already up 26% from its lows already. So very, very interesting on how stimulus packages can somehow, no, protect, float, and make an economy also go as well. So you have that, you have the bounce. It's of course, it's not back to where the highs were. It's not back to where it's supposed to be, but that's one thing that I'd like to point out, is that every time you print money, it causes markets to somehow artificially go up as well. But please remember that the stock market is different also from the real economy, and the real economy is saying that 17 million Americans lost their jobs in just 3 weeks. Uh, it A lot of people are filing for unemployment already, unemployment benefits. So it came from around 6 million to 10 million, then 17 million already in just 3 weeks. And they still haven't fully locked down. At least you have to remember that it's all predicated on the lockdown in the US. That if they lock down even further, then you will see more and more and more and more and more people start losing jobs as well. So above and beyond Americans, Canadians also lost 1 million. We 1 million jobs as well. So this is something that, as I'm saying this to all of you, this is something that's happening in a global front. No, it's not just in the Philippines. It's not just in the US. It's not just in China. But everyone is affected. Now, comment below, guys, if you're learning. Comment below if you like this format as well. I've been making a lot of these formats over the past a few days webinar style type of formats for you guys in YouTube. But I hope that it adds tremendous value to you and that you guys get enough information from this as possible as well. I forgot again to introduce myself. For those who don't know who I am, my name is Marvin Gurmo. I'm a stock market trader and investor. I've been investing in the markets for more than 12, 13 years already. And the reason why I keep making videos like this is just I just want to give you as much insight as possible in the market so that at the end of the day, please remember, and I've been saying this over and over and over again in a lot of the videos that I've been creating, these are all cycles. What you do when it's down will define how you make money also when it's up later on. So please remember that this too shall pass, that there will always be a reversal. Please remember that even though it looks a bit grim right now, even though a lot of people are relatively scared. It doesn't have to define how you do go about your life. That's why I've been saying this over and over. Cash is so important because the amount of cash that you have will dictate how you also move right now when there's a lot of fear, when there's a lot of uncertainty. But when there's a lot of fear and uncertainty, you can also walk in wisdom that you don't have to fight every battle. You just have to go about what makes sense to all of you. And the reason why I'm creating videos like this is because I just want to give you as much data as possible as well. Anyways, from China to US, let's look at oil. Please do note that one of the reasons why the markets also dropped a few weeks ago was that oil prices started to drop massively as well. In line with number one, there's really not much demand. Number two, China and Russia just kept on pumping. That's why you saw this. And then this was the latest one that we saw that caused a slew of selling in the markets over the past few weeks as well. Then boom. Now, what the reason why I'm saying that oil prices are higher now, relatively higher, because from its lows it started to go back up again. So we're seeing a bounce. What caused that bounce? It's primarily because of this. Saudi and Russia agreed to curb down oil production. So meaning lower demand. What happened? That's why it pushed down massively here. It was pretty much because there was a low demand, but but Russia and Saudi just kept on making producing oil, meaning low demand na nga, but there's a high supply still. It's just gonna make things even worse. Now, the push up that you're seeing here is pretty much because they started to agree already. Hey, let's curb down the production of oil, meaning it may normalize prices. This is good from our aspect as Filipinos, no, because that's why inflation is also not as high because oil prices are lower. So this somehow eases some of the burden that what if a lot of the companies were already shut down and oil prices were higher? That would have been a double black eye to the Philippines. And that being said, also from oil commodities, let's move to another commodity. As you all know, I mentioned about the US printing massive amounts of cash. Please remember, every time they print massive amounts of cash, it's also not good for their currency. If it's not good for their currency because it gets devalued, a lot of people will be flocking into other sorts of asset classes, and this makes gold super 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 important. If you've been watching the previous videos that I have created, not just this year, no, but for so many years back, I've been massively talking about gold makes sense. Gold is something that's very, in times of uncertainty, a lot of people flock to gold because it's a storer of value. A lot of people flock to gold because gold is finite. Gold really doesn't have a lot of industrial uses, but gold also doesn't give you cash flow. But gold is gold. The only thing that I'd like to mention though for gold is a lot of people are saying, don't store cash anymore, just focus on gold. The thing is, as of today, if you want to buy food, you can't use gold to buy food. You will still have to swap it to cash, not unless that person really wants to accept your gold, whatever gold it may be. But from a practical aspect, yes, it's good to store gold. It's good to store gold as a hedge. But for day-to-day use, you still need cash to be able to do it. But that being said, all of this uncertainty is causing gold prices to push up. All of this uncertainty is causing gold to just continue to push up and go up. And if I zoom out even further, you would actually see this, that gold is pushing towards the higher high at the time that there was a lot of crisis at post 2008 2009. You see gold here hit past 1819 levels, US dollars, and as you can see it now, it's starting to continue to push up. It continued to break and eliminate this range. It continued to break and eliminate this range. The next range that it could eliminate now is the 1,800. So let's see, no, that poses also a resistance level at that area, but every time that there's uncertainty, people will flock to gold. And now you also add the U.S. government printing a lot of money. A lot of people are saying that the U.S. dollar doesn't have a lot of weight anymore, and that's why a lot of people have been flocking into gold. Another thing that I'd like to mention is this: the entire, if you'd put a monetary amount monetary amount to gold, it's around 9.5 trillion US dollars in the whole world already. If you'd put context into all of it, the current stimulus is $2 trillion. What the Fed printed in 2008 was 4.5 trillion US dollars, and the gold around the world is 9.5 trillion US dollars only, meaning it's scarce, it's limited, it's something that you cannot print, it's something that you cannot make anymore, hence its value as of today. Now, I said this is not just all doom and gloom. What should you do? Because at the end of the day, I've mentioned that these are cycles. This is a cycle, and if you know what you're doing at this point in time, this is something that will pretty much help you as well, so that you have a battle plan and strategy into all of this. So if you want me to go into that comment, let's go. Quick plug though, again, if you're new to this channel, super appreciated it if you could subscribe. I create daily videos, not just anymore about the stock market, but I feature a lot of people who share their stories on entrepreneurship, on business, on winning, on the economy, and everything else in between, so that at least you have context, no, on the proper rudiments on how you can make your money work hard for you. Because at the end of the day, that's why I built this channel. This channel is for you guys to be able to have the right foundation on your investments. Anyways, what should you do? This point in time, and I've been saying this in all of my videos, is you have to stick pretty much to your plan. What is your plan? Are you a buy and hold investor? Are you a trader? Are you a person who's just buying gold? Are you a person who's double downing in the stock market? Are you a person who's into business? Are you a person who's into real estate? You just have to follow what your plan is. If you deviate and follow things based out of emotion, that's when you will lose also. If you deviate and you do things just because it's a bit scary, then that's when you start to lose also. If you follow what everyone else is doing, if you follow opinions that are not in line also with what works for you, then you will lose also that way. The name of the game is how long can you stick to your plan. And the plan that I'm saying, of course, it's not just something that you've crafted out of thin air. It should be a plan that should be primarily based on your financial plan, your investment plan, your trading plan, whether it be using also fundamentals and technical analysis in terms of your trading, but your portfolio allocation, the risk that you're willing to take, you must stick to that. You must go back to that. You must revisit that, because if you don't revisit that, that's when it becomes harder. But just some general tips as well. I highly suggest still, no, I know a lot of people are talking about gold, but it's still good to have cash flow. You need to have a source of income that's coming your way no matter what's happening, no matter how bad it looks. If money's coming your way, you will survive. As long, I'll say this over and over and over again, as long as money's coming your way, as long as you're liquid, as long as you have income. Kasi income naman na yun, you can use it to buy gold eh. You can use that cash to buy gold. You can use that cash to buy other items any single point in time. So if there's one thing that I'd like you to focus on right now, is never lose that sense of cash flow, never lose that sense or that ability of you making money. You need to focus on that, because that's what will keep you afloat. That's what will give you the ability to let your money grow, not just now, but it will give you the ability to grow repeatedly over a period of time, that when this passes, because you have cash flow, because you have cash, you remain protected, you remain stable. You will have options later on how you will position your money. That's one. Second tip is that this, it would be good to still have tangible assets. If you have, it's still good to have land. It's still good to have a house, because as you all know, yes, the U.S. dollar is inflated. Currencies are inflated. Currencies may not mean anything, but a hectare of land is still a hectare of land. Owning a building is still a building, especially if it's in a central area. If there's one thing that's also scarce, if people are saying that gold is scarce, guess what? Land is also scarce. So if you have property, you have a farm, you have land, you have buildings, you have houses, you have apartments that you own, and if it's generating cash flow for you, then even better. You hit already two of the tips in one go. If you have an asset that gives you cash flow, you are winning. That's why it's always about multiple streams of income. Again, I'll say this over and over. You need to have tangible assets still. So cash flow, tangible assets. Then, dun na papasok yung number three that you need to have assets that will give you a hedge. So that could be gold, that could be silver, that could be Bitcoin, something that is contrary or different to cash as well. So Bitcoin, that's why if people are asking, am I against gold? No, I'm not. I've been saying it over and over to a lot of people that if it works for you, you've studied it and you know how it works, you know the game of how it is. Because at the end of the day, also gold won't give you any cash flow. Gold won't give you dividends. Gold is just really something that's there for a hedge. So if you have tons of gold and it's not giving you anything, what will you eat? So it's very, very important to have cash flow, tangible assets, then some assets that will give you a hedge. It could also be Bitcoin. That's why I'm a big fan of cryptocurrencies as well. I'm a big fan of digital currencies because I really believe that digital is the future. I really believe that crypto is the future as well. It could be Bitcoin or it could be other cryptocurrency that you want to get into. You have to study it though. This video is not for me to talk about cryptocurrencies, but I'm telling you that this is something that could be also a hedge as well. Lastly, people are asking, so should we still invest in the stock market? Of course. Ako, personally, I'm still gonna invest in the stock market because the stock market for me is something that gives me growth. It's something that, please remember this, if you have cash flow, you have other assets, and then you have other assets also that will hedge you, then investing in the stock market will also make sense, especially right now that if you are not the trader, you are an investor and you are just in it to position, willing to hold it for a very, very long time, then it probably will work still for you. Please remember, it always will be predicated on what's your style, that you don't have to succumb to what everyone else is saying. If your style is I'll buy stocks when they're very, very cheap, hold them for 8 years, 10 years, it doesn't matter if it goes even lower, then the stock market may work for you, especially if you're in it for growth as well. All of that I said, cash flow, tangible assets, assets that will give you a hedge, assets that will give you growth, it just says that you need to diversify. Diversification still works, but if you notice it, I'm telling you to diversify not for the sake of diversification. I'm telling you that you do this, because at the end of the day, wait, that's diversification. But don't do what other people are doing, that they just diversify. Oh, I need to diversify just for the sake of diversification. Then it becomes wrong. It has to be intentional. It has to be in accordance to your plan. It has to be in accordance to something that will work for you as well. So there, quick plug, all of my books are in the description below. Online courses with Chinkitan, Tagalog stock market courses in the description below as well. And a another online course with Sean Si called Make Money, Grow Money is also in the description below, along with all of my books. So I guess that's it for now. I hope you guys got a lot from all of this. Please remember to subscribe to my channel. I have two channels now. Both of them are in the description below. One is my main channel. Second is my infographic channel. Please do subscribe. And if you get so much value from the videos that I make, super appreciate it if you could like and also share this to a lot of people, because at the end of the day, that's the goal. That's the heart of why I do what I do. I just really want to see more and more and more and more and more people just continually win. I just want to see more people live and reach for the goals of financial freedom, because at the end of the day, that's all that's going to happen. And we push and we just continue to hustle so that we get to hit our goals, we get to reach for our goals. So that's it for now. This is Marvin Germo. I hope this video helps you trade well, trade strong, trade smart. See you all again soon, guys, and God bless you all.